Hi, this is Jungle Jenna, and I'm here with a guest today. I have my mom coming on my channel. I'm going to interview her about Reylo and about Star Wars. She's currently drinking from my future Mrs. Kylo Ren cup. So, yeah, there it is. So she's got my cup. But anyway, I'm bringing my mom onto my channel because when we saw The Last Jedi, we both had completely different perspectives of the movie and about Reylo, and where I was very negative about it, she was very positive and had a lot of insightful things to say. So I've been wanting to bring her on my channel for a really long time, but it's just been a matter of trying to sit down and actually do it. So I'm really excited that we're finally doing this, and thank you so much for coming onto my channel.
You're welcome. It's a little awkward, but it's all good.
So, what is your history with Star Wars?
Well, being 51, I was a child when Star Wars first came out, and it was, big and exciting at the time. But I think that year after year, it just was the same kind of Star Wars movies that were coming out. So I think the last movie that I saw was
The last movie being The Last Jedi?
yeah, well, but before that, I can't remember.
Oh, The Empire Strikes
Yeah,
Back.
Empire Strikes Back. So I think it's been a really long time. And when Force Awakens came out, I was actually pretty shocked to even realize that they were still making movies. It just seemed like it had just been so overdone. But being female and probably just not into the Star Wars thing, I wasn't really. I just wasn't. It wasn't really my thing. So
Star Wars is for women too.
it is. Sorry, it's for women. Sorry, didn't mean to say that. But that was the last movie that I saw. But I know that you were really excited about Force Awakens. I don't know if you really knew much about Star Wars at the time, but I just thought it seemed like a fun movie to go see, and so we did.
Yeah, so when I went to go see The Force Awakens for the first time, I knew nothing about Star Wars, and I remembered very little from my childhood, and I just remembered that I didn't really enjoy the prequels that much. And so you and I went to go see it over Christmas. And what was your, because as soon as I saw The Force Awakens, I noticed Reylo immediately. So did you notice Reylo immediately, or what was your response to it when you first saw The Force Awakens?
Well, at first I saw it and I was trying to figure out who the new characters were because, when I left off with it, it was Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia. I didn't know that Luke had a mechanical hand at this point and all this stuff. All this stuff had happened that I just had no idea. So I was trying to kind of get up to speed on where who all these new characters were. And I knew that this was a trilogy. And so, I thought it was a good movie. And for a while, it seemed like it was the same, just kind of the same battle scenes and all that kind of stuff. But the interesting parts were, when kind of focusing on Rey and building her character. And then when Kylo Ren took off his mask or his helmet or whatever it is, obviously he was super hot. And so you notice that right off the bat. I didn't notice, I think the things that were interesting was like when he bridal carried her, which I now know from you that that's what it's called. That, when he was kind of gentle with her in those ways. So I thought that was interesting, but I didn't really attribute it to any kind of romance. She didn't seem to like him. He seemed maybe more captivated or drawn to her, like he was kind of trying to figure her out. Excuse me, there was some sort of connection there. So I did notice that. She didn't necessarily seem to be too big on him. She seemed more kind of hostile and like she was just kind of thought that he was a bad guy. But so I didn't see the same things in it. I kind of just took it at face value. I felt like I was just watching a movie. There were things that I noticed that I thought were interesting. But then after the movie, your fan base, in terms of the Reylo shippers, I guess is what you call them, that completely exploded. So I was kind of in that minority of people who maybe didn't really see that connection where, you had this, all of a sudden there was this huge group of people who were called Reylo shippers who saw this connection, and it was very evident to them. So I just didn't know, and I just kind of took it at face value, and I listened to all the things that you were saying about it, and so I thought it was interesting, but I didn't really make that connection in the first movie.
Okay, so how has your opinion of Reylo changed since you've seen The Last Jedi?
Well, I in the Last Jedi, I thought it was in your face. Personally, I thought that being in Star Wars movies, that's about as sexy and out there and intimate that it's ever gotten. You know, we don't see people in Star Wars, hot guys in Star Wars, taking off their shirts and kind of telepathically or almost teleportation or whatever. But you don't, you know, and just that they liked that they responded to each other. There was kind of this connection and this bond, and to me that was very, very evident, you know, and it seemed like that just grew more and more. And she saw kind of these good things in him, and they felt like they weren't so alone. And so I thought that it was really in your face. And when they did the little finger touching thing and all that stuff, I thought that that was very intimate. Um, and she really just kind of believed in him. So, you know, when the movie ended, I was like, OMG, these Reylo shippers that are out there really know what they're talking about. This like proves that this is their theory about this has been right all along, when the first thing you said was Reylo was dead. And so we had very differing viewpoints on it. And I couldn't believe that you couldn't see how obvious it was. And that was almost kind of frustrating, because I suddenly became the Star Wars fan girl type of thing, because to me it was just really, really, it was just so in your face, so obvious, more so than, and there was nothing really leading up to it. It kind of just happened and was introduced into the movie. And he didn't really fight against it. He liked it. He was curious about the fact that they were connected, and they seemed like they were just almost talking all the time, almost like they were talking in at times that wasn't even showing in the movie, because they seemed that comfortable with each other. So that's what I thought. That's what I saw in the second movie.
Yeah, and I know that when we first saw The Last Jedi, I was definitely upset because I felt like they kind of had teased us with Reylo, and they had shown this connection between the two, and had them, you know, developing affection for each other. And then when she decides to not rule the galaxy with him, and he spirals into darkness, like, it just seemed like Reylo was dead. And like I said, they had just teased us with Reylo and then ripped the rug out from under our feet. So, like, what is your perception of that? And, like, what do you think of, you know, Kylo Ren's behavior in the last act of The Last Jedi, where he tells Luke that he's going to destroy Rey, and he tells his officers, or whoever they are, to blow the piece of junk out of the sky. So where do you think, like, Kylo Ren was at that point?
First of all, you have to ask yourself, where are the writers and producers at with it at that point? This is a trilogy. This is the middle of the movie. These guys are master storytellers. They know exactly what they're doing. They know the fan base. They know the angst that they're building. They know all the heartbreak that's going to come out of, oh my gosh, what if these two don't work out? What if he doesn't get a redemption arc? So these guys are master storytellers. We're in the middle of the story. The third act of this whole thing has not taken place yet. If they did all of that, there would be nothing left for the third movie. So, so when, you know, when everybody's so upset that things didn't just work out in the second movie, what is the third movie going to be about if that happens? This is following a story, and they're master storytellers. They know what they're doing. So it's kind of sadistic in a way, because they're master storytellers. They know what they're doing. And he was just throwing a major temper tantrum. He's a damaged person. He has been betrayed his whole life. He feels like he was more or less, um, almost kind of just sent away by his parents, that he has major dad issues, pretty much big mom issues, kind of been used by the dark side for whatever they wanted him. He's got Luke now that, we learn tried to actually kill him. And even Luke says that when he looked up at him, all he saw was a scared boy. And so, I think that he's got a lot of anger and a lot of issues to work through, and he now finds himself pretty much alone in the world because he killed Snoke, which if he hadn't have cared about Rey, he wouldn't have killed Snoke. He literally is, so when Rey basically didn't kind of join with him in, they're almost like two halves of one whole, but she's healthier and more evolved and more mature than he is. And so they're really, to some degree, they were on the same page. But they're not. He has a darker agenda because in some ways that's all that he knows. And she, thought that he would turn and kind of come with her, and so he felt like horribly rejected. It was just like, the ultimate rejection to have her basically say that she wasn't gonna come with him. And so I think that what he said at that time, had a lot more to do with that painful reaction of just wanting to lash out and destroy anything and everything that was in his path that made him feel like he wasn't, kind of like triggered off all of those kind of deep-seated issues and feelings that he has. And what I thought was neat about her is that she's a strong woman, and it's not, I don't think that she doesn't care about him, but she is going to make him work for her, and she's going to make, if he wants to be with her, then she's kind of almost challenging him to rise up to that occasion.
I agree, and I hope that he does rise up to that occasion.
I think we all do at this point. I think there's going to be a lot of unhappy people if they don't somehow make some kind of a redemption arc for him out of this whole thing.
So, do you think that he will receive a redemption arc?
I hope so. It seems to be headed that direction. I don't really know. Other storylines have just been told so many times in so many different ways, and so it seems that where this is the third movie in a series of three, that they've got to have some kind of positive conclusion to this whole thing. I doubt that it will be that just that the universe is in disarray and that Kylo Ren is now in charge, because Kylo Ren is really alone too. I mean, he's got General Hux, but I think he and General Hux are probably going to go at it in the next movie, because Hux hates him, he hates Hux. They're both vying for power. And so how that redemption arc will take place, I don't know. And I hope that, you have different ideas, like, you wonder if he'll die defending her, or so something will happen, or if they'll join together and become a stronger force to rule the galaxy. I don't know.
What would be amazing if he went renegade and he and Rey worked together. That would be amazing.
No, it would be good, but the unfortunate thing is that we're all at the mercy of the writers and the directors, and so that's where I think it's important to not try to create too much of your own storyline with these things, because we really have no control over what the writer and the director decide to do. But J.J. Abrams was an executive producer in the last movie, and he's directing this next movie, so I have to believe that they obviously talk, and they
have conversations.
Yeah, they're working together and collaborating together on this, I believe. So I hope that they make something really good out of it, and um, who knows if this will be something that they'll base future movies on, and those will be the characters kind of in the next movie who kind of like Luke and Leia and all all the different people that have been part of the other movies for so long, who are all kind of dying off now.
Yeah.
So
What was your favorite Reylo scene in The Last Jedi?
I think the scene where he kills Snoke and they fight the Praetorian Guards, but I think it's a really important scene in just the things that are said in that scene. And I think that what, like where Snoke is saying that they're basically just stupid, gullible children, and I can't be betrayed, and I know his thoughts, I know his mind, and he senses resolve, and so it makes it seem like he's just got Kylo Ren right where he wants him, when in reality, Kylo Ren, he does have resolve, but he basically ends up killing Snoke. And so it really showed that Snoke really didn't know everything. So that was kind of a scene that kind of established that Snoke had a lot of control, but how he was interpreting what he was picking up on wasn't necessarily exactly what he thought that it was. And then Rey told him that she had seen Kylo, that she saw that when the time came that he would stand up to Snoke, basically, and that's what it's what he did. And the pained look on his face when Snoke was hurting Rey and that kind of stuff. So those things were really, really obvious too, that he really cares about her and feels like some kind of like he's just not alone in the universe when she's around. And but so I think that that's a scene that's really tells a lot, and it would be a good scene for people to go back and watch a few times and kind of really pay attention to the things that are said.
Yeah, I agree. What did you think of the shirtless scene? The beefcake scene?
Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's just, to me, it was just really obvious that they were trying to drive home this element of, because come on, he's Kylo Ren. If he really didn't want to be shirtless or connect with her in that way or whatever, he would have been all hostile and said, "Get out of here, let me get my clothes on." but he didn't. In fact, she told him to put something on,
and he
He
didn't.
So I think that.
But he's hot, right?
Yeah. No, he's hot.
He's
for sure.
He's a nice piece
Oh
of
my gosh.
a nice piece of ass.
Okay.
What did you think of the last scene, their last Force connection, where she's on the Millennium Falcon and he's on Crate?
Well, I think at that point, when he's super angry and huffy and puffy, and he comes in there, and everybody's there's nobody in the room. He finds the dice, which kind of disappear from his hand, and everybody else has disappeared, and Luke just disappeared, and Snoke is dead, and then he and Rey kind of have that eye to eye moment, and you see that there is a level of kind of like softening in the expressions that take place for just a few minutes, and he almost looks at her kind of in a hopeful way, but then she kind of gets that look of resolve on her face, because I think she's just as strong as he is, and basically like, okay, I'm not going to play your games. If you want to come over and be on my side, then we'll talk. But so then she just closed the door, and so I think that destroyed everybody's hearts too, apparently, when that happened. But I just look at it as it's a comma or a semicolon in the continuing story. It's not over yet. The whole story's still being told.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see what they do with the rest of it.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, my mom, she basically went into The Last Jedi as a blank slate. She became a Star Wars fan after seeing The Last Jedi and ships Reylo now after seeing The Last Jedi. So she kind of came in as an outside perspective, and so you know, where she didn't have expectations attached to the last movie, you know, she really helped me to kind of see the bright side and to have, you know, to continue to have that faith in Reylo and Star Wars. So I just wanted to have her come onto my channel to share her thoughts on The Last Jedi with all of you. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for being on my
Thank you.
channel.
Thanks for letting me come on.
Yeah,
All right.
so bye.
Bye.